What is going on, guys? It's your boy MC Fixer here from My Xbox and Me, and I am joined by the one and only Matt P. Video. Matt, how are you?
I'm really well, mate. We're going to chat about Dying Light 2.
We certainly are. Dying Light 2, a game that I was provided by me by Intel. So Intel, thank you very much for providing me with code. I am a little bit shocked and surprised about all things Dying Light 2. I have to say, we both played it for different amounts of times. I'm around 10 hours into my experience with Dying Light 2. Whereabouts are you at?
I'm going to say I'm like 60 hours in.
Okay. The very different amounts of time. Have you beaten the main campaign yet?
No.
Okay. Ah, interesting.
I don't think I'm far off.
Gotcha.
I also wouldn't be surprised if I turn this corner that I see coming up and realize there's another 20 hours of game there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those.
What was your experience with Dying Light as a series beforehand? Did you play Dying Light 1 or nothing?
Absolutely nothing.
Same.
Okay. My only experience with Dying Light is that this game has been delayed time and time again. You know, the issues that have surfaced through the press and stuff like that. And so it's, who knows what this game was going to be, right? But we did see a lot of this game before it launched.
Yep.
And none of that got me massively excited. What about you? Were you excited for this game before?
So I played Dying Light 1, but it gave me motion sickness straight away, like instantaneously when I played it for the first time. I couldn't play it. I couldn't play beyond like the first hour, just literally of Dying Light 1. And I was like, well, I guess Dying Light's a series not for me. So going into Dying Light 2, I was a little bit
scared.
Anxious. Anxious in a way. I was like, I don't want to come on the review or come on the podcast or wherever it is I'm talking and be like, yeah, sorry, once again, Dying Light made me sick. This game didn't. I don't know whether that is now games frame rates are better or whether my monitors are better or what it is, but Dying Light 2 did not make me motion sick in any way, shape, or form, and I've had a fantastic time with it thus far.
Interesting.
My excitement levels for the game were mixed because of that. So I'm a big zombie fan. I love zombies. I love zombie games, and I have been a little bit burnt out on open world games. That being said, as soon as I jumped into Dying Light, I was like, wow, this is exactly what I want right now. It is zombies. It has fantastic systems. It is very Dead Island-like. Even with some nods to Dead Island, which was really interesting. No spoilers in this, by the way, story-wise or anything like that. But yeah, it caught me off guard in how good it actually is. And not that I didn't think it would be good, but I didn't expect it to be this good from what I was expecting to play. In the opening hours of the game, I was just sort of sucked in of the story of what my character's going through and our mission and the emotional aspect of what the character's going through. There's a lot of unanswered questions instantaneously, and I am on the journey of finding those out. Along that journey, I am getting distracted left, right, and center with the open world. Obviously, it does the old question marks, and I love what they do in terms of marking with the binoculars. I think that is such a fun way of adding to exploring the world. So for those who haven't played the game and don't know, you're watching this beforehand. You get your binoculars kind of a couple hours into the game. And
not much.
As you're on top of buildings and stuff, you can sort of zone in. The binoculars will zone in on certain areas, which then become areas in which you can explore. Which you don't have to do it like that, but that is one way of looking around this beautiful world that's been built. You know?
Yeah, it's got that classic open world thing of climb this tower and do this thing. And now this is a good opportunity for you to look through your binoculars and scope out other stuff you could do nearby or really far off if you can zone in on that. And yeah, I like that aspect of it too. I think it's an interesting way to do it. There is something, and like no spoilers, they introduce a mechanic later on where that becomes less necessary to do, which I think is actually a good thing. By the time you've spent many hours in this game and done the binocular thing a lot, you might not be as keen to do it again. Do you know what I mean? And so I think it's a good idea for them to have done that. And and it doesn't completely eradicate the need for binoculars by any means. Yeah, I enjoy that aspect of it as well. One of the things that I struggled with in the early game, and I think it's something that games in general have done really well lately, and it's something that I think Halo did very well. You know, Halo introduced itself into this open world and gave you that grapple shot immediately, and it becomes incredibly fun to move around that world. And whilst this game is a parkour game, it is a zombie game, but is a parkour game.
Yep.
But a lot of those parkour skills are locked off to you at the start, and it's difficult to level up in this game. To level up, you need to find things called inhibitors that are obtuse and difficult to find, and that's on purpose, but that's part of the game. And that basically, the more inhibitors you unlock, you can either choose to put that skill point, if you like, into combat or parkour, and that starts to unlock things that are available in your skill tree. To actually unlock those things within your skill tree, you have to do either combat or parkour to earn XP in either of those trees to be able to spend points in there. It's probably a simpler system than I'm making it sound right now. But yeah, the fact that I couldn't wall run at the start, and I felt really weak. You have not a lot of stamina at the start,
or health.
Or health, yeah. And this world is very clearly designed for me to run around like a jungle gym. Let me run around like a jungle gym. It was only really sort of 25 hours in, I reckon, that I was like, right, now I'm parkouring, baby. Now I'm enjoying it. Now I feel like I can go out at night when the zombies are more powerful and quicker, and I can outrun these fools no problem. I'm gonna be jumping off heads and enjoying my time out in the night. And so, yeah, how are you finding the parkour element of it? Like, obviously, it's not making you motion sick, which is awesome. But yeah, are you struggling at all with it, or is that just a me thing, maybe?
I loved it, personally. I get what you mean. There are certain moments that I get to, like, a certain area that is very obvious that I can jump up high. I can go to this area, but I'll run out of stamina at the very last moment. And that frustrates me. Or jumping off of a tall building and knowing that there's a skill point that will soften my landing or make me do a roly-poly as I land. And I don't have that currently, so every time I'm jumping, I'm just like, I've jumped off of buildings and died multiple times. And that can become quite frustrating and tiresome. But, go on, please.
Well, I was going to say, I am now at a point where I can pretty much jump off anything and be okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like there are 3 levels to that specific skill that you have to unlock sequentially, where you can land from higher surfaces each time. And yeah, like it's got to a point which is like I can jump off a 3-story building and roll out of this totally fine, no problem at all.
It's video games, am I right?
Like, for sure.
But yeah, I've quite enjoyed the challenge of the game as well.
I get that,
and it's a strange one for me because I like the weapon system. I like the fact that I haven't quite unlocked all the crafting and stuff yet. Even in 10 hours in, again, I have been very distracted in certain moments. But I enjoy what is there so far. And the fact that I know there is so much more to come for me, that I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Like, again, it's no spoilers, but like a certain story element happened, and it was this choice system of like, either tell the truth or tell a lie, and I did one of the two, and then that started a fight. And it was an interesting one where it's like, well, no, I don't believe you, and I'm not going to lie for you, and it's those are the moments in Dying Light 2 that feel quite interesting and fun and special. I haven't, in my 10 hours so far, I haven't gotten to a part of the game where, I remember when it was shown at Xbox's conference, and it was like, you're going to make these grand decisions, and one person's going to get water, and this person's going to get this, and that person's going to get that, and this is going to have a knock-on effect to the entire world. I haven't felt a single part of that yet in 10 hours. I haven't felt like I've made a decision yet that I've come to regret or come to not regret, or even a character's been like, yo, you're a scumbag, you didn't give us insert thing here. I haven't experienced any of that yet. Does that develop later on or not?
They are, and they are very clearly signposted. This is the big decision. I've
had one of those, like, signposted, like, you're going to make a decision now, and one goes left, one goes right, and like, yeah, I've had I've had one of those, not a couple.
Even more clearly signposted than that. Different to what you're talking about. Okay. So basically, you're right. So there are resources in the game, and when you get to these big resource points, water is the first one that you come to. Who are you going to give water to? This band of survivors that live in a church, or the PK, which are essentially police army that roam the streets.
Yeah.
And you do missions for both of those leading up to it, and you get to know the people there, and so making that decision is the thing. The decision that you end up making there to pick one or the other is very gamey. It tells you, hey, if you pick the survivors, they're going to put up zip lines everywhere. And so you're going to be able to run around the city easier and use zip lines. If you pick the PK, they're going to strap alarms to cars that you could, if you're being chased by zombies, you could set off, and it's going to distract the zombies. That's your option. That's your choice. They are also long-running skill trees, and so if you pick survivors 3 times in a row, you'll get 3 zip lines, and then something else, and then something else. The PK will still be stuck on their car alarms. That's like the first skill that you're buying for that group of people, and so that's how it works as you follow through the game.
Gotcha.
And then as far as sort of the story implications of that, I haven't done them all, so I don't know.
Yeah.
They have been very light. They have involved a conversation where somebody's like, hey, screw you, you didn't side with my team. And the other people are like, hey, thanks for siding with our team. And that's it.
And that's it.
And you move on. And you move on. And so
that's why I was feeling like that was going to be the case. It wasn't. I bought into the fact of like, this is a world and we're building this world together and it's going to have ramifications. Doesn't feel like that really, does it, towards the end there then?
No, and like I say, I still have a ways to go. I definitely still have a ways to go with this, like knowing how many of those points I've unlocked, and you can see how many there are, or there are at least this many, because you can unlock everything in one tree, right? So, and there were some cool ones in there, and it's a cool mechanic. I think, and it's something I struggle with this game. Like, this game is so big. Like, when they tweeted, this game's 500 hours, and everybody was like, that's not a good thing. And then they reeled that back. This game's 500 hours. It's mental how big this game is. And I feel like a lot of the stuff they introduce clashes in a way with other mechanics, and it's difficult to talk about without getting spoilery. But like I say, I was 25 hours in. You start the game in a place called Old Villador, which is houses that are like maybe 3 stories, and you really feel like you can run around that place by the time you get to the end of that section. After that amount of time, or after that section of the game is done, the story, you move on to a different area, which is high-rise buildings and skyscrapers. And they give you sort of 2 mechanics that basically make free-running parkour obsolete. And I don't parkour anywhere anymore. Like, it's
interesting.
One, it's difficult because everything's skyscrapers, and you can't really jump from building to building, and you can't do that. 2, the mechanics they've given me don't reward me for being a parkour guy, because I haven't got enough stamina to get all the way up that skyscraper. And even if I do get all the way up there, there are much easier ways to get up there with the mechanics you've given me. And I feel like it's constantly doing that, where it's like, look at this really cool mechanic. It doesn't really play well with that other mechanic that we gave you 5 hours ago, but don't think about it and forget about it. It's like, it's almost like it's too ambitious for its own good. It's trying to throw so much at you that it's just a bit like, I
haven't gotten to that point yet where I feel like it's too ambitious, but again, I am very early on in comparisons to you, definitely. But does the moment to moment story matter to you at this moment in time? Do you care about it? Do you care about these characters? Because that's one of the main reasons why I play games. It is emotion. It is, as much as gameplay is king, obviously, and if a game doesn't play well, and I do believe from what I have played so far, I enjoy the moment-to-moment gameplay. I enjoy slicing up zombies. I enjoy parkouring around the area in which I'm in currently. I enjoy throwing molotovs, throwing distraction coins, all of those gamey things that you expect to be in a game like this. I enjoy all of that. But do the story beats hit or not?
I think, for the most part, yes. Like when there are like main characters in this game, right? Obviously, there are people that you're going to interact with more than others, right? People who are in the main quests and people who give you random side quests. I feel like all the side quests are a bit like, they try to do that thing where there's no good or bad. Everybody's grey. Yeah. But actually, everybody just fucking sucks. Like, everybody in a side quest sucks.
Sucks.
They all are terrible people. Like the twist of every side quest is like, I'm a dick. Like I'm a terrible person. And it's like, okay, sure, I guess. But the main characters, I think there are a lot of characters in there that have quite a lot of depth and quite cool. And like, yeah, like the decisions, whilst like the big like decisions the game wants you to feel intense about, might not have massive ramifications. I do feel like, oh, I need to think about this for a second. Like, actually, this isn't the most obvious choice in the world. And yeah, I've promised this person this thing, but now I want to go against that. Or, you know, we're you're in this city to try and find your sister. That's established very early on in the game. This decision will actively hurt my chances of finding her. Like I'm going to betray a person who's really going to be helpful to that cause. Yeah. What does that mean for the actual story going forward? It's difficult to tell. I don't get the feeling like if I sided with this person who knew all this information about my sister, I would have just lost 20 hours of the next 20 hours of the story of the game. Like, it's not going to work like that, right? And so, like, yeah, I feel like the majority of the main story characters are quite good and quite interesting. And yeah, I am interested in doing more of the story and finding out more about them, and helping or not helping them as it goes. So yeah, I'm curious. There's a mechanic in the game they introduced very early on, and you could say this is a spoiler. This is as much of a spoiler as saying Master Chief has a grapple shot. Like I really don't think it is. They've shown it off in all the trailers, so you know you're infected very early on in the game, and you have, as long as you're in sunlight or UV light, you won't turn into a zombie. Yeah. And so you have this countdown timer whenever you're in the night before you turn into a zombie and die, and obviously have to restart. How are you finding that mechanic?
So is that something you enjoy? I hate it. It reminds me very much of remember Dead Rising 2 at all. Dead Rising 2 had Zombrex. So
yes,
it was constant run back to this area because you need Zombrex. And yeah, I understand why it exists. It exists for story purposes, and not only that, it just annoys me. Anything that forces me to do something that I don't want to do is a frustrating mechanic in games. Like, I don't want to have to go back to a certain area at a certain time because the game has decided that now is the time. It isn't fun to me. And I had it the other night when I was playing, which was like, oh, I was down to my final 2 minutes and I was doing something in the world and we was underground, and I'm sprinting around and I'm like panicking because I'm about to die. And that's what it's meant to do. That is the reason why it exists. So it frustrates me, but it's doing its purpose in its story and in its gameplay, but it still frustrates me. It's not fun. And I don't care about the story ramifications of that. If a game isn't fun or it takes me away from the thing I actually want to do, that is a negative thing in my opinion. And yeah, what about you? Did you enjoy it, or do you enjoy it?
I really love it. Which is an interesting contrast, right? Because I think it's used really well. So like in the early game, I remember having the frustrations that you have of like, I haven't got enough time to do anything I want to do here. In the early game, I actually feel like it kind of forces you along the story a bit more by introducing that. Because there are things so basically in the world, zombies in the day suck. They're shamblers. You can just run past them, no problem. In the night, they're a lot quicker. They're a lot more alert. And in the day, a lot of them sleep in buildings, which make it very difficult to go in buildings during the day, and come out at night, which encourages you to go out at night to explore the buildings. But in the early game, it doesn't want you to go out at night and explore the buildings. They'll pop up on your map and they'll go, there's a cool thing in here. You should go find it. Yeah. But you ain't good enough yet. You ain't good enough to do that yet. Exactly. And so, yeah, in leveling up, you get more time on that timer. I am at a point where I can craft things that basically give me 10, 12 minutes on that timer. And I can craft them as many times as I want, essentially. Like, I can go out for as long as I want. The thing that I love about it is exactly what you were saying. Like, it creates a great level of tension in the game. Because, like, yeah, there are scenarios where, like, I'm running around at night, don't realize how low that clock is. Your dude starts coughing. Mechanically in the game, if your dude starts coughing, the zombies hear you. And if you're running around at night, the zombies are going to come after you. And all of a sudden, I'm being chased through the streets. All these zombies are after me, and I'm just trying to find somewhere that has a UV lamp. where I can just sit and be safe. And I really love that mechanic. Like I think it does a lot of cool elements with the horror thing in here, and I really enjoyed all of it. And I didn't expect it to be scary, but in certain times, it definitely is. Like when you go into those buildings during the day where all the zombies are sleeping, you can creep around those buildings if you want.
Yeah.
And just sneak around all the zombies, and they're all making little noises. You can get really close to them and not wake them up, but they're all making like horrible little noises. And yeah, it's brilliant. I love it. The only thing I don't love about those areas is there are hiding spots in those areas where, you know, theoretically you could hide under a table because there are certain infected that don't sleep and they might spot you. Those spots just don't work.
They don't work. I agree.
Which is mind-blowing. The zombies just like stare at you under a table like you're a fucking idiot, because you are, and then they all come after you. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. You put it in here. It's clearly supposed to work.
I had it with like tall grass, where I had run away from some zombies. I've crouched down into this tall grass looking thing, and the zombies just come sprinting at me. And
they just come straight after you.
Hold up a minute. How did you even know I was here?
It's weird as well, because like they're definitely designated as hiding spots. They have a little eye with a little crosser.
Yeah.
They are hiding spots. But there's no like mechanic. I thought maybe, there's a mechanic in the game where like I can wear certain armor and that'll make me more stealthy. As far as I can tell, there's no stealth stat in the game. There's a lot of stats in the game, but I haven't seen a stealth stat.
There's a lot of stats. Speaking of that, there is a couple of things that I really like about in this UI. I like the fact that the game you can turn off stats altogether in terms of it can be an action game, it can be an RPG, it can be a survival horror, it can be I like the way they did that. They can have it so there's no HUD at all, and it all adds to what the game is, and the game can kind of be what you want it to be in that regard, which is something I've not seen in a game. I don't think I've ever seen it in any other game before, where like it's literally saying RPG, like horror, like immersive experience. Like, I'm sure other games have it, but not in the forefront straight away. And like, yeah, it was really interesting to see. And I was like, that's a really interesting way of doing things. Like, if you're someone who prefers RPGs, you're going to play it like this. And if you're someone who's playing this as a strict survival horror experience, you're going to play it with no HUD. So you're going to have to pay attention to the coffin and all of these other elements of the game. And that all added to the game for me in a big, big way.
Yeah, 100% agree. And it's something I've forgotten about, because I looked through the settings as soon as I booted up the game, put it into action mode, and then I've been editing footage of other people playing the game, and I've been like, they have health bars. Like, all the zombies have health bars. I didn't know that. Yeah. Like, I know if a zombie's dead because I've brained it, like its head's collapsed. Like, that's how I know when a zombie's dead. I don't look for a health bar, which is like a really interesting, cool mechanic. I'm glad that that's something they've done. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, 100%. Anything we haven't said that you wanted to get to before we let the people go?
I don't think so. What I would say is this. Look, it's a huge game. And we often talk about, like, what is the purpose of a review? It's to try and figure out if you think you'll like this game. If you've watched trailers for this game and you've watched gameplay overviews of this game, and you think this game looks really cool, I think you're going to have a blast. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And value for money wise, it's a 500-hour game. Like, I believe them. Like, there's so much to do in this game. And I haven't scratched the surface of it 60 hours in. Like, it's crazy. And so I think you can make a very educated decision based on what they've shown you. It's no Life is Strange making these cataclysmic decisions. I don't think that's there. But everything else, the parkour's brilliant. The combat's great. Like you say, the weapon systems, even, I know you're not a massive fan of it, but even the countdown timer to turning into a zombie, I think is really cool. And yeah, I think you're gonna have a blast with this game if this looks like a game you're interested in.
100%. I think if you're asking me, should you pick up Dying Light 2? I would say yes so far in my experience with the game. If you're someone who enjoys zombie games, if you're someone who enjoys horror, if you're somebody who enjoys parkour, if you're somebody who if you enjoy not Dying Light, if you enjoy Dead Island, if you're someone who enjoyed Dead Island, this is 20,000 times better than that. So
I did play Dead Island. I enjoyed Dead Island, but I agree with you, this is way better.
But this is on a whole new level. So
yeah,
That is what this game is. And yeah, I do think it's worth your time. It's an experience worth having, and I'm going to continue to have. Yeah. Matt, thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this review, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching us. We will bring you more reviews very, very soon. Till next time, we will love you, leave you. See you later.
Bye.